All right, preparing. Got it. Almost there.
Got a lot of likes on that page, by the way, you guys.
Yeah. All right, thank you. All right.
Yeah, so standard questions, you know, we talked a little bit about the indie scene.
Sure.
Some of the top guys. All right.
Yeah. All right.
For you guys.
Yeah. All right. Dang it, Instagram. Okay. Yeah, there we go.
All right.
All right. Looks like we're live, guys. This is the first Indie Talk with Jesse and Jeryn live show at the Nerdin' Out Con. Lots of action that happened. Big main event that we had. We got Midwest wrestling fan Matthew Schrader here. How's it going?
Matt works. Thanks a lot. Hey guys, it's great to be here, and thanks for having me on the show.
Yep.
This is a real treat.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been appreciative of you supporting the Indie Talk and especially wrestling. That's what all brings us together in Midwest wrestling. So
absolutely, guys. You know, it's likewise with you too. You know, great fans. You know, supporting this indie. You know, the wonderful independent circuit of Midwest wrestling. Not only the Midwest, but just all around the country, especially in the Upper Midwest where we live here, and we're able to get out there and take it in and see so much great talent out there. There's just so much here in the Midwest. It's phenomenal. You know, I mean, I grew up obviously a WWE, you know, fan, WCW, a lot of those federations there. But I tell you what, we see on the independent scene here is amazing. I mean, these guys put their hearts into it, and they absolutely love what they do, and they do a great job giving back to the community, to the fans, and just, you know, it's phenomenal. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, definitely. How did you get into Midwest wrestling and finding out about that?
Well, I tell you what, guys, I mean, I started out, I've been a wrestling fan kind of all my life. And I do competitive running, even though I've kind of backed out on it, backed off of it a little bit. I've had just a few little injuries along the way, but a lot of my running friends used to say, hey, you know, you were a wrestling fan, weren't you? Because I used to kind of take a little bit of a persona into my running, which I used to love so much, you know, too. But I grew up a wrestling fan. I did a little bit of pee-wee wrestling when I was a kid with the local boys club. And then a few years after that was when I got into the pro wrestling and just growing up with all of the big stars that you guys grew up with. I'm sure, you know, I'm sure, you know, you name them. And I mainly was in the era of the late 80s into the early 90s, mid 90s. And are we allowed to say the name of some of the big stars?
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, I go to a lot of these indie shows, you know, too, and I ask a lot of the professional wrestlers, even the ones that the old school guys, that's like, oh, I remember this guy and that guy. And I don't want to jump too far ahead of myself in circles here. That can happen. I forget the camera's on sometimes, but I'm really glad people out there, folks, are joining us and wrestling friends whatsoever. But I got into wrestling, you know, I mean, as a fan in the late, probably around like 1988, 89, you know, growing up watching Roddy Piper, Hulk Hogan, you know, and all the boys, Ric Flair, and kind of shifting ahead throughout the years. I've been to only a couple of independent shows, indie shows, you could say. I mean, I've been to several WWE, WCW back in the late 90s into the early 2000s. Yeah. I took a little bit of a break from wrestling, even though I watched it. And then I think I went to an indie show, I believe it was back in 98, right outside of La Crosse, Wisconsin, my hometown. And then I did one over in Albert Lee, Minnesota back in 2011. Yep. And I remember the Honky Tonk Man was one of the guests on that, was actually one of the wrestlers on that show. And he wrestled in the show. He didn't take really much of a bump in there, but he did actually wrestle. So it was phenomenal. And then as far back as I can remember, 2011 up until earlier this year in February, me and my girlfriend Heather, my wonderful girlfriend Heather, of over a year now, she's a big wrestling fan as well, and she grew up a wrestling fan like me. And all of a sudden, we decided, it was earlier this year in Faribault, Minnesota. We noticed a show, and I can't remember for sure how it became about, but we were talking about it. And it's like, would you feel like going to a wrestling show? I mean, the weather ain't bad because, you know, the roads in Minnesota, too, guys, can be treacherous, you know, and that's what I'm worried about this winter. Is what are them roads going to be like, you know, going to these shows? We love getting on the highway and going. Yeah, we go to shows all over the Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota. We love traveling, you know, it's worth it. But our first show was in February, and it was the one over at the Faribault Legion. We had a wonderful time.
Yeah, was that the one with the System and Leonard?
The System and Leonard, which is a great match. I keep forgetting that it wasn't a hardcore match, but it turned into somewhat of a hardcore match. And yeah, and it was just a really good time. There was so much talent on that card. And we had just been introduced that day. And I didn't really even know who the system was. You know, he had that crowbar mustache going, you know, and I'm like,
Hogan.
yeah, exactly. And I'm like, who is this guy? Who's this guy in the system? You know, he's definitely got to be somebody to either watch out for or someone to stay out of the way of, you know, because he was definitely, you know, but he impressed me. Him and Leonard, they put on a hell of a match and they worked together. They worked a great match together. So I was really glad we picked a great one. We had a couple of female wrestlers that were on that show that stole the show, actually. Rekka Tekahara and Maddie Rinkowski, who are both really good indie wrestlers from down south, who I really enjoyed watching wrestling. They still had, I think, one of the best indie matches that I've seen so far, that even though they came up from the south, but it was still great. It's great how a lot of the talent blossoms out and likes to get around the country and do a lot of shows, do a lot of different indie shows. And it's just great, especially MAW and what we saw tonight. You get a lot of these shows to where they have like one guest, or all of a sudden you talk to some of these wrestlers you meet, you know, like Danny Dollar, who came up from Tennessee, who was a really good indie wrestler down there. And some of them that have been up to the AEW on the roster is usually enhancement talent, but still, you know, they're living the dream and they're getting out there and they're having a great time. You know, it's just been awesome. But, you know, it's been great, guys. You know, it's been a wonderful ride. Ever since February of this year, that Faribault MAW show, we've just been taking wide strides and moving forward, hitting that road just about every single weekend and taking in wrestling. And as fans, we love it. And, you know, I'm even getting a little bit of an itch, guys. Or, you know, I mean, there's talks with some of my friends who are like down in Rugged Pro. I know in Iowa, you know, maybe you have a few little angles to where I might be able to possibly get involved, you know, because I just love being a fan. You know, I love everybody on the, you know, so many great talented wrestlers here in the Midwest that I absolutely love. Phenomenal.
Referee Sean Livingston right there.
Sean, great up and coming referee right here, ladies and gentlemen. Sean Livingston.
Yeah, there you go.
That was a good camera. Yeah.
When I pop in and say hi,
Should we get him in there?
oh,
there he is.
on everybody.
Yeah, there he is.
Pleasure to see you guys.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, there you go. Got a few, great stuff from Sean Livingston. And
absolutely.
We got him in.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Oh, wait. No, not the sweatshirts.
Yeah, get your AEW sweatshirt.
Yeah, not the AEW.
You know, I got to say, guys, thanks for the opportunity, you know, for doing basically streaming this live and in person like this. I'm kind of an old school guy. You know, I work off of my tablet. I know you guys are trying to get a hold of me a couple times. And I hadn't been online for a couple of days, but usually I work off of my computer at work. And then I also have a tablet at home that's about 3 years old that I work off of. But otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, when I talk about old school, I'm old school, but this is my phone. There's no kidding, no ifs, buts about it. I love it. I know I'm eventually gonna have to bite the bullet and step up and get something because they're saying supposedly the towers aren't going to be able. These aren't going to be able to work out.
Absolutely.
So we'll see what happens. You know.
Definitely. Jesse.
So what was your favorite match tonight?
Favorite match tonight? Well, you know, it's kind of a toss-up, guys. I saw a lot of talent out here, and I've really gotten to know a lot of these guys, but I think I really liked the main event. The main event for the tag titles. Yeah, it really was. You know, the system. The system's pretty tough. The system is smart. That's just it. You know, he's a real smart individual.
Absolutely true.
And not only that, guys, but he knows what he's doing. Even if it means breaking the rules, or he knows the tricks of the trade, you know, pulling the wool over your, you know, the rug of wool over your eyes, I guess you could say. An old school term. I don't even know if they use that anymore, but
they do.
Sometimes.
Definitely. I just wanted to get you on for a short time just to talk about like what went on. It was a lot of stuff that went on tonight, and first ever live at the MAW our Nerd and Out Con in Rochester.
Sure. This is great. This is fantastic, you know, being here tonight, guys, and I really appreciate you having me here, and telling other fans out here in the Midwest, hey, you know, get out and check it out. You know, I mean, there's so much great action, so much great talent out here in the Midwest. You know, so many great wrestlers. Bill Williams, of course, is one of my favorites.
He loves Bill Williams.
I love Bill. I love Darren Corbin. There's just so many great ones out there in the Midwest to support. So just keeping it real, guys.
There you go. Definitely great wrestlers. Yeah, thank you
All right.
again. And
Thank you.
hope you have a great night.
All right, gentlemen, you too. All right,
Yeah.
guys. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. Signing off, fans.
All right.
Uh,
Hard time.